Good morning. Morning and welcome to the second day of this Caritas Confederation Conference, together serving out of love, strengthening our fraternal cooperation. So before starting this morning session, I kindly invite Father Francisco Hernandez Rojas, Regional Coordinators of Caritas Latin American and the Caribbean, to guide us in the opening prayer.
Muy buenos días a todos y todas. Vamos a prepararnos unos minutos bien para poner.
Let's take a few moments to open this new day of work. Let's put it in the hands of the Lord. Well, this is our second and last day of work together on a very important theme, ecclesial theme. So let's prepare ourselves to welcome the Spirit of the Lord, the Holy Spirit, and let's ask Him to strengthen our hearts and our minds, and let's ask the Holy Spirit to be here together in communion.
Iniciamos
Let's start this new day in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Today, we will focus on the act part, together with all the members of our confederation. So let's call upon the spirit of our three patron saints. And two of them come from Latin America. Saint Martin of Porres. He lived for the poor. And he lived his fraternity in his community. And Saint Teresa of Calcutta, a woman who gave herself for the poor, for the vulnerable ones. And in Venezuela, we had the luck to have her first house open. And Saint Oscar Romero, or as we call him, Romero de America. And he was a martyr for serving humbly the poor and the peasants. So these important patron saints, let's entrust our Caritas. From the Gospel of St. John. Then Jesus looked upon in the sky and said, Father, the hour has come. Glorify your Son, so that your Son glorifies you, so that he can give life, eternal life to all. And this is eternal life. May they know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. I have brought you glory on earth by finishing the work you gave me to do. I don't ask you to take them out of the world. My prayer is not that you take them of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. For them I sanctify myself, that they too may be truly sanctified. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. That is the word of the Lord. On this day, in which we are going to make decisions on how to keep on strengthening our fraternal cooperation, our confederation, let's ask the Lord the same thing that Jesus asks. May we be one. walking in synodality as brothers and sisters, inviting the world to live as one human family in one common home. Synodality means to listen to one another, to walk together. It is to take one another by the hand so that we may be able to say that this is what Caritas does. Since we walk together, since we take one another by the hand. So to conclude this moment of prayer, let's make a very simple gesture with a refrain from a song that invites us to hold our hands, to give our hands to others. So let's do this gesture. Let's join our hands in a very simple way. And the refrain says, give your brother your hand, welcome your brother. And the sign for welcoming could be by, bending our hands. And let's conclude with this gesture. Give your hand to your brother. I'm going to rehearse it with you. I'm sure that many of you know this hymn. It says,
Bienvenida, dale una fiel sonrisa, da la mano a tu hermano, da la mano. Lo voy a cantar otra vez.
I'm going to sing it once more. You may participate.
Da la mano a tu hermano, da la mano, dale una bienvenida, dale una fiel sonrisa, da la mano a tu hermano, da la mano. ¿Ya lo aprendimos?
So, you learned that? You're very fast learners and you have beautiful voices. So, I promise you that if we follow like this, at the end we will be able to, to go on TikTok.
Entonces vamos a cantarlo por última vez.
So, one more time.
Da la mano a tu hermano, da la mano, dale una bienvenida, dale una fiel sonrisa, da la mano a tu hermano, da la mano. Yo canto una estrofa y todos me ayudan.
So I'm going to sing and you will help me with the choir.
Si detrás del sagrario tú estás, si tu corazón es como el mío, dame la mano y mi hermano serás. Dame la mano, querido hermano, dame la mano y mi hermano serás. Dame la mano, querido hermano, dame la mano y mi hermano serás. Da la mano a tu hermano, da la mano. Da la mano a tu hermano, dale una bienvenida, dale una fiel sonrisa, da la mano a tu hermano, da la mano. Encomendamos nuestra jornada.
So let's entrust our day and all of our activities to our good mother, the Virgin Mary. Hail Mary.
De gracia, el Señor es contigo. Bendita tú eres entre todas las mujeres, y bendito el fruto de tu vientre, Jesús. Santa María, Madre de Dios, ruega por nosotros pecadores, ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amén. Gloria al Padre, al Hijo y al Espíritu Santo.
Glory be to the Father.
El Señor esté con ustedes.
May the Lord be with you. And the blessing of Almighty God be with you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
La mano a tu hermano, da la mano, dale una bienvenida, dale una fiel sonrisa, da la mano a tu hermano, da la mano. Gracias.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very Caritas Latin America and the Caribbean regions, to Monsignor Azuaje, Monsignor Ramirez, Father Chico, Rosario, and Agustina, to leading us in our opening prayer today. So we continue our journey. We are meeting here in order to reflect together as a network how to strengthen our fraternal cooperation, and we are using the See, Judge, and Act method of analysis in these 2 days. Yesterday, we assessed the situation. We had many also reflection on the status of Caritas fraternal cooperation, and we also highlight the different challenges. And during the afternoon, there was a critical reflections to the different working group. So before starting today, we would like to take stock of the day of yesterday. And so I kindly ask Dar Gomez, the regional coordinator of Caritas Asia, to present us the highlights of the day one. So thank you very much, Dar, for your contribution, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marta. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Zar Gomez, and I am the Regional Coordinator of Caritas Asia. And today I am tasked to provide you a short glimpse of what we did yesterday, what we have discussed, what we have talked about, what we've seen, and what we've heard from others. So that's actually a very gargantuan task, because we did a lot of things yesterday, and we did a lot of things also, and we discussed a lot of things, and yet I'm only given 20 minutes to do the presentation, to do the recap of yesterday. But anyway, I will try my best to be on time, and I made some PowerPoint presentations. I hope it's already there. Yes, it's already there. Just to give a recap of yesterday. So yesterday, we actually had a total of 23 speakers, and you are seeing them on the screen, our speakers, including the moderators, as well as those who gave us testimonies about what's happening in their country. Plus, we had a workshop yesterday, and we had 8 workshop groups. These are facilitated by people from all the 7 regions of Caritas Internationalis, and you see their names on the screen, so I'll not read them one by one. We also note that yesterday, we had a total of 107 participants coming from all the 7 regions of Caritas Internationalis. The 7 regions are well represented. We have people coming from Asia, from Africa, from the Mono region, from the Latin American region and the Caribbean, and also from Oceania, as well as in North America. So we are happy to have all of us in the Caritas Confederation yesterday, even now. These are the countries that are present according to the list as of Friday last week. I don't know if there has been some minus or plus in this list, but these are the countries that are represented in this conference and in this workshop. There are 64 member organizations. As we have heard, we are putting See, Judge, and Act in this as a methodology of this conference. And already yesterday, we have seen that for the See aspect of this conference, we had 3 workshops there where we are, the current context of fraternal cooperation in the time of the localization, challenges for stewardship in fraternal cooperation, accompaniment to promote local leadership. And for the Judge, we have had a session on analyze the current situation of fraternal cooperation in our confederation and the key challenges to be addressed. And so today, we are ready to have the ACT part of our conference. And we're looking forward to our speakers of the day and also for the workshops that we're going to do again this day. Yesterday, we were welcomed by Mr. Aloysius Chan, our Secretary General. He said that, how do we want to become better and co-responsible partners in a synodal church or a synodal approach is a very crucial question for all of us to reflect on in this conference. Later on, he also gave us some historical background about fraternal cooperation through the years. Then, of course, we had also the opening prayer. And in that opening prayer, we were told that we were reminded that we are one human family united in the beautiful diversity of our confederation. After that, we had our first workshop or plenary session where we had a session on where we are in the current context of fraternal cooperation in the time of localization. So we've heard speakers from the Mona region, from the Caritas Senegal, from Caritas Georgia, from Catholic Identity Committee, and also this was moderated by from Caritas Malawi. I will not go into the details of their report, but I'm sure the documentation of their presentation will be shared with you later on after this. Let me just remind you that in that workshop, we discussed about balance. We heard about leaving no one behind. We talked about also, or we heard people sharing the competitive advantage of Caritas, but also the hardships of the partnership that we are having now. We have also heard about COVID-19 and partnership and the localization in that session. So again, I will not go into the details of that, but I hope that the screen that you are looking now will remind you somehow of what we did yesterday. Next, we also had the challenges for stewardship in fraternal cooperation, where we listened to speakers from Congo, from Caritas Denmark, from Caritas Jordan, from Argentina, Fiji, and Caritas Chile. I will then not again say anything about what they shared because I'm sure you learned from them and I'm sure you remember what you have learned from them. But just to remind you also that in that session, we talked about participation as a family. We talked about mutual respect, coordination of interventions, and many others. Next, in the afternoon, we had, or shortly before lunch, we had a accompaniment to promote local leadership, where we have listened from the talks of Burkina Faso, from Caritas Syria, from Caritas Spain, Caritas Philippines, Catholic Relief Services, and Caritas Moldova. In that session, we were saying about we are one family, and I think we were also challenged about what should we do with those who do not want to respect the fraternal cooperation principles. So that question was the one that was given to us in this session. Now moving on, in the afternoon, we ended the day with the analysis of the current situation, but before that, you remember that there were also group workshops where we had 8 groups talking about their reflections of the day, especially after hearing the presentations of the morning. Then we had a closing mass. But before that, and by ending, I would like to show you this video. This will remind you all the more what we did yesterday. And after the video, my presentation is finished. Thank you very much. There is no sound, and don't know why. No sound, but I hope you enjoy it without the sounds. There's supposed to be a sound there, but maybe because of some technical issues, we're not hearing the sounds. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nobody is better than Zar in presentation. We all know that. And thank you also for the video. Even without a sound, it was perfect. It shows how this is also fraternal cooperation, to meet, to be all here together. So now it is a deep pleasure to invite here at the podium our president, Cardinal Luis Antonio Joaquim Tagle. So, as we said, today we are going to look at the future. And so the Cardinal will lead us in this reflection on Caritas Horizon 2030, a synodal approach for effective fraternal cooperation, spirituality of fraternal cooperation based on Caritas values and principle, Catholic social teaching, and the magisterium. That was part of the reflection of yesterday, our identity. So, Your Eminence, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martha. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, buongiorno, buenos dias, bonjour. What else? Guten Tag. Yeah. And to my fellow Filipinos, magandang umaga po. Magandang umaga. Yeah. Just hearing the title of my sharing already makes me tremble, I think it is the topic for a doctoral dissertation, and we would need a full, ample time to develop everything. But yes, just to set it in the context of our history, we just celebrated the 70th anniversary of the Confederation. And we know that the Confederation was established or started. Monsignor, a mano. Con una sonrisa. The Confederation was started really as a gesture, as an instrument, as a sign of fraternity in the world, especially the Church's love for those who have been forgotten, the victims of war, sickness, and violence. So through Caritas and through the Confederation, we hope that people would have experienced during the 70 years of its existence this warmth of compassion and fraternity. What we also say with much sadness that in the 70 years of our existence, we still see a lot of conflicts, wars, violence, things that are against human fraternity. So it is like going against the tide, as it were, to promote fraternity when we know there are forces in the world that would rather not promote it. But there comes our calling, there comes also our resolve. Will we, as a confederation, respecting our diversity, would we move towards this wonderful vision of brotherly, sisterly love leading to action, collaboration for the common good? This theme blends very well with what Pope Francis has been inviting the Church to enter into, what he calls synodality. And the identity of the Church is synodal, which is another way of saying communion. The Church is communion. In the teaching of Vatican II, it says that the Church is the icon of the Trinity. Diverse persons, but not ending up in three different gods, but remaining one God, No? Because of the interrelationship of the three persons. One person cannot exist without the other two persons. So it's three persons, but one God, communion. And the church should be a mirror of that. Then it is not just an identity for the church. According to Vatican II also, the church is supposed to be the sign and instrument of communion with God and the communion of brothers and sisters. Okay? So it is not just something symbolic in the sense that it should be seen, but it is our mission to be a catalyst of communion, not only with the divine, but communion also of humanity. So I would like to offer 3 simple points. Is it okay? Should I move? Should I repeat everything? No. I cannot. I cannot. Yeah. There. Yeah. So I would like to focus on this call of the Holy Father for us to be a more synodal church. And it is intimately connected to fraternal cooperation and fraternal walking together. So 3 simple points. The first is, when we talk of a synodal church or a synodal caritas, confederation, it just means we walk together. Walking together. It's the root of the Greek word synodos. Syn, with, and odos, the way. So we take the same way together. We walk together. It might sound easy, no? But walking with others is not always easy. Sometimes we decide it might be better to walk alone. When I was much younger, there was a song that became famous. I did it my way. I did it my way. And it is almost like even a source of pride. I did it my way. If others need other ways, then you are weak. Only those who can say, I did it my way, deserve respect. Yeah. But that is a song that I think Caritas should not sing. No. So it is walking together. So it might sound normal, natural to walk together, but in reality, no. Those of you who are married know that. No? During the courtship period, you walk together. After a few years, say, let's go to church. You go ahead. I will follow. we find excuses not to walk together. And generational gaps also. No? So wait, I'm getting out of my topic here. Yeah. Now, so we should learn to appreciate this calling, which is not always easy to respond to, walking together. How do we walk together? There are many parts of scriptures that could lead us to such a way, but I want to invite you to go to the prophet Micah. In chapter 6, verses 1 to 8, we see God talking about the infidelity of the people Israel. Israel has neglected God and so has refused to walk with God. Israel pursued its own way and instead walked with false gods. Then, when Israel was made aware of the infidelity towards God, Israel's response was not to repent. In fact, Israel tried to bribe God. He said, okay, God, what can I give you to appease your anger? Do you want holocausts? How many calves do you need? Will you be satisfied with thousands of rams? Or do you want streams of oil? And if you're not content, maybe I can give you my firstborn son. So choose. And then God said, oh, you know what is required. Only to do right, to love goodness, and to walk humbly with your God. To walk humbly with your God. Synodality, fraternal cooperation, is possible only if we walk humbly, first of all, with God. There are possible meanings of this, walking with God, many possible meanings. One is that God is our co-journeyer. So we must, when we journey with God, and knowing that our partner in the journey is God, then you better walk humbly. How can we walk with pride when our partner in the journey is God? No? So when the partner is God, then we all walk humbly, which is a good reminder. In our mission, no, if we know that we are walking with God, then our walk will be humble because our companion is the Almighty God. But there is another interpretation which I prefer. It is, you walk humbly when you are walking with God because God walks in a humble way. When you walk with God and God's walk is humble, then you should also be humble in your walk. Those of my generation are still used to dancing with partners. Nowadays, people just dance alone. Even, if you're dancing the tango, you make sure that you are coordinated, huh? Otherwise, you will get into an accident. Or if you're supposed to dance the boogie, you should know how to walk, to dance together. Otherwise, a misstep would cause an accident. So the same with God. God walks humbly, and if we walk with God, our walk should be like His walk, humble. And we see this in salvation history. God could have done it His way. If there is anyone who could sing that song with all rights and privileges, it is God. No? But God did not choose it that way. God chose to walk with the humble family of Noah, with Abraham and Sarah, with the lowly people Israel, with Boaz and Ruth, with the shepherd David, with Zechariah and Elizabeth, with Joseph and Mary. That's how God walks. And when Jesus came, His collaborators were not always what the world considers the best. One of His first acts was to choose simple fishermen to accompany Him, to learn from Him, even if they were very difficult to teach. And then later on, they became his witnesses. This is the way of Jesus. This is because this is the way of God. And we see that in the internal life of God, what we call the Trinity, that was how they walked. They walked together. Jesus says, even if he claims, I am the way to the Father, no, but no one comes to the Father except through the call of the Father. And how could the disciples learn about Jesus' teachings? Through the Holy Spirit, who will lead the disciples to Jesus. The Holy Spirit will not create his own group of disciples. He will lead people to Jesus, and Jesus will lead them to the Father. Wow. Talk about synodality and real collaboration. So, as Pope Francis would stress over and over again, synodality is not like a parliamentary process. No, synodality is deeply spiritual. It is being open to the Holy Spirit and how the Holy Spirit would lead us, no, to the interior life of the Trinity. Yeah. Am I putting you to sleep? No, there is a silence here. But here, no, so I think part of, for this first point, fraternal cooperation, synodality, are possible only if we walk with God and learn how to walk the way God walks, to walk with the humble. And that has been the mission of Caritas. So there is no room for pride, for self-promotion. It's always a humble walk with humble people. And part of our collaboration is learning from the little ones, learning from the humble people. While we extend help to the humble ones, I think from our experience, we can say we get more from the little ones. We receive, no? So a paternalistic attitude is not part of fraternal, fraternal cooperation and synodality. No, as we give, we also receive. As we share, we also learn. And the little ones have a lot to teach us. Yeah. Now I go to my second point. So we already saw how in the Bible, in scriptures, God walks with persons, with communities, the little ones, a humble walk of God. But as the prophet Micah shows to us, walking with people does not eliminate the freedom of the people that we walk with. The people of Israel were free to choose. Will they walk with God or will they go their own way? Jesus has experienced the same thing. The famous chapter 6 of St. John's Gospel, after his speech about the bread of life, you eat my flesh and drink my blood, people said, "Oh, this is hard teaching." And slowly they left him. No? And then he turned to his disciples, "Will you also go away?" No? So there is freedom. Freedom. So the call to synodality and the call to fraternal cooperation should lead us to an examination of our unfreedoms. Because each one of us must admit we have some unfreedoms which could block or hinder our walking with others or our humble walk with others. This is what we call discernment. Discerning the different movements in our minds and hearts. Discerning also the movements in a group, in a community. You know? Is this a movement of freedom, meaning of love, of compassion, or what? Or is this a movement that leads to self-interest or self-promotion? Discernment is an important part of walking together. If I fail in discernment, I might be driven only by unfreedom in my choices and in my actions. But unfreedom will not promote fraternity, sorority, and synodality. But this is a journey in itself. Admitting our unfreedoms, our lack of freedom, admitting our wounds, admitting what are the things that influence my capacity to walk with others or my refusal to walk with others. That's why I don't know how many of you have participated in the initial synodal consultations in parishes and dioceses. The Holy Father insisted that the process not be only discussion. There will always be a period after 3 persons who have talked, pause, silence. Get into your heart. Get in touch with your reactions. And see whether your reactions, internal reactions, are leading to the common good or to personal good. The discernment process. Yeah, and here we learn from the simple, this freedom, to pursue fraternity and synodality. I remember once I was invited by a friend of mine to ride with him to another city, part of Metro Manila. And he said, I will come to your residence. You ride with me in my car. You don't need to bring your car. And said, then I'll take you back home. I said, sure. So we save also on gas emission and my house. Yeah. So, and then on one road, as we just turned, the traffic light turned red. So we stopped. And those of you who have been to some parts of Manila, the moment the semaphore, the traffic light turns red, you see many of the vendors, those who who sell candies, flowers, water, towels, they all come to the cars to sell. They're hiding on the sidewalks, the footpath, and so the driver of my friend, Kurt, respectfully said, no, we're not buying anything. So they all went to the cars behind us. Then one of them came back. He was selling cookies, or what we call in the Philippines, barquillos. And he stood beside, he was looking at me and said, Cardinal, and he was waving this packet of cookies. Cardinal. And my friend and the driver said, Sir, sorry, no, we're not buying. But he stayed. He said, Cardinal. So without asking permission from my friend, the owner of the car, I lowered the window, and my friend panicked, and the driver panicked. He said, Sir, we already said we will not buy. But he said, but I am not selling it. I want to give it as a gift to Cardinal. This poor man who needed every cent to live was free, interiorly free, freed from profit, but free to share. Free to share. The mindset was not profitability, but gift. Gift. So the new economy might come from them. They are our teachers. And so I said, the Cathedral of Manila at that moment moved to the streets. And the one who taught was not the cardinal, but this poor person. The joy of walking together and walking humbly, but also being free to shed off things, attitudes that might prevent my being a giver or my being a true sister or brother and collaborator. I think it's important for us to really go into that spirit of discernment. Am I free to? Those who are thirsty, please come. We have water here. We want to share. You don't have to buy. Yeah. For free? Is it for free, Tini? Myra. Yeah. Which one? Yeah. So I'm sure you have had many experiences of that. No, we go to the poor thinking that we are the ones to bring something or to give something, but in the end, they are the promoters of a new vision. They're the promoters of a new world. And finally, part of fraternal cooperation and synodality, walking together and working together, is not just the purification of human freedom, but also, taking into consideration how culture affects each one of us. Because sometimes the block to walking together is our lack of understanding, appreciation of cultures. Now, each one of us, each one talks, behaves, relates, eats, grieves, and celebrates according to our culture. And in a synodal church, we need this type of intelligence, this type of wisdom, to appreciate first how my culture has made me who I am, and then also to appreciate how other cultures have humanized, have made other people the human beings that they are. When I was a student in the US, one of my classmates said, "You Asians, you Filipinos, why don't you say things like direct to the point?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, you go around the bush. So telling that. I said, "But for us, that is the most direct way." For you, the direct way is a different path. But you should realize that directness in other cultures is through another path. For example, if I have a guest and I'm getting bored, and I'm talking as a Filipino here, and I'm getting bored, why is this person going on? And but in our culture, cultural, it would be disrespectful to say, please, it's time for you to get out of my house, or like that. No, it will be disrespectful. So what will I do as a good Filipino? I will look out the window and say, I think it will rain. And then he, as a Filipino, he or she will say, I think so. I better go now. Now, that's very direct. Huh? That's very direct. If you know the culture. If you're outside the culture, if you do not walk with the culture, then you say, that's indirect. No. You do not know the culture. That's why you say it's indirect. But for those inside the culture, it's the most direct way of driving people away. And nobody gets hurt because it will rain. It will rain. It is raining. So it's not against you. It's not. It's, well, it will rain. Yeah. Even eating. Bishop. It will stay, yes. But that person does not belong to the culture. Or another person might say, oh no, don't worry, I have an umbrella. And then you say, oh, I think it will be heavy rain, your umbrella will break. So all of these rituals, all of these rituals, we laugh at it, but I think this is part of discernment. And look how joyful it could be. We could laugh at each other, we could laugh at ourselves. But without this discernment in the area of culture, there's a lot of animosity, a lot of misunderstanding. But if only there is this space of walking together through what they call cultural intelligence. Because we're so focused on academic intelligence, and then, of course, there is the so-called emotional intelligence. But now, they're talking about cultural intelligence for those who want to walk together. Cultural intelligence first requires that I know how my culture has shaped me. I must admit how my culture has made me who I am, for all its strengths and also for all its limitations and weaknesses. For every culture has its strength and also its limitations. And then, cultural intelligence implies my willingness to understand other cultures, to enter their world, and then to be like a human bridge between cultures. Even eating is cultural. Like I see some Europeans here, the Italians, the insalata, salad. Now, when do you eat it? Is it after the meal, during the meal, or before the meal? Is it contorno? Contorno, you eat it. How about the French? When do you eat salad? At the beginning. At the beginning. Oh, that's cultural. We in the Philippines, we don't. We don't eat salad. We prefer cooked vegetables. So, we eat bananas, yes. And when I arrived here 2 years ago, I said, oh, the same type of banana. No, but my grandmother was very particular. No, depending on the food that she cooked, then there is a variety of banana that must accompany that. Otherwise, you will be sent back to the market to say, exchange that for this type of banana because it does not blend well with this. That's, even the tongue is cultural. I may eat 3 bowls of pasta, good pasta, no? But one spoon of rice would make me say, so it's not quantity, it's more culture. No? Yeah. Okay. I'm giving all of this because I think sometimes we talk about synodality, we talk about fraternal cooperation as concepts, but in fact, there are formative stages in that. No? So I suggest that we all get involved in our study of our respective cultures, and then appreciation of the cultures of the others, and see how through fraternal cooperation and synodality we could bridge those cultures into like a better world. No? Because cultures right now, as you see, is one of the causes of polarization and even ideological conflicts. We learn from Jesus. He lived in his culture, but he also, in a way, brought another culture, the culture of his kingdom. No? His arrangement of space. Now, this arrangement of space describes a culture. When I enter a church, I say, okay, how far is the altar from the pews? That speaks of a culture. And then sometimes you enter a church and you look, where is the altar? What is the culture here? You know, how we arrange space is part of culture. Our concept of time. So what time is the meeting? Some say 9 o'clock, but some say, oh, when you arrive. That's the start of the meeting. So our concept of time is also culture-bound. As I already said, our preparation and consumption of food, our heroes, heroines, and idols. Now, how come some countries, their heroes are all military people? And there is no special day for a simple working mother who survived the war and brought her family to full education. Will she become a national hero? Yeah. This all speaks of cultures. No? But Jesus introduced the reform of the culture also, like space. The Hebrews were very particular about clean, unclean. You should not go to the place of the unclean. But Jesus touched people with leprosy. He allowed women and children to come to him. His time is not determined by the watch, but what the Father tells him. His heroes, the Samaritan woman, the Syrophoenician woman, all the so-called outsiders became his heroes. So I'm through these 3 points, walking humbly with God, discernment of our unfreedoms, and also the appreciation of cultures and our capacity to bridge cultures. I hope that Caritas, as an international family, as a confederation, could really show to the world that fraternal cooperation is true, is real, is possible. Oh? And we hope that Caritas could be a sign also of what Pope Francis has been aspiring for, a church that is more synodal, where all the members of the church could walk together in mutual listening. And so we hope that at all levels of Caritas as a confederation, we would have this conversion to synodality, conversion to the values of fraternal cooperation, the parishes, the dioceses, the national Caritases, the regional, continental, and here in Rome, the secretariat and the governing bodies. We hope that this spirit will be alive. So thank you. Thank you very much. I hope this be a bit helpful. But may I be excused because I have also a full-time job in the other. I have a meeting in a few minutes.
Thank you so much. And I think it's going to rain, maybe.
Yes, I better. So I better go. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Eminence. So it was really a lot of points to be reflected, a lot of food for thought. So Caritas as an history of warmth and compassion, and looking at our future, what we should do is continue, or maybe learning to walking together humbly as God walked, and also liberating ourselves from all of the things that prevent us to freely give and cooperate together. And so there's, in our fraternal cooperation, in our synodality, there's no room for pride, no room for self-promotion, and we should learn from each other. Also, as the Cardinal said, learn from the little ones. So our fraternal cooperation will be also a learning experience. And we have also to learn to understand and appreciate different cultures. So we have really a lot to reflect on, and we invited also the regional coordinators here on the floor because they will have the really hard mission to carry on this reflection in the region. And in a few minutes, I will ask you some reflection about it. But before, I would like to give the floor to Monsieur Gabriel Atti. I'm going to switch to French. Monsieur Atti, je ne sais pas si vous voulez parler.
Maybe you want to speak from your seat, or maybe you want to come here. You can do what you prefer to do. So we ask you to reflect upon something, upon your experience in fraternal cooperation and management standards. Not only you are the president of the Mono region, but you are also the president of the review committee. So we ask you to briefly reflect upon fraternal cooperation. Thank you. I did not expect to be invited now, but anyhow, I can tell you that I appreciate very much the very nice words that you spent. Thank you. I am surprised that you're inviting me to speak now, because I did not know that I would do it now. Anyhow, first of all, I would like to thank you for the So I would like to thank you
because I appreciate it very much, all the affection that you showed to me when I didn't feel very well. So thank you very much for that. So I have been working in the Caritas family for 20 years, and that has been very enriching for me. So I'm going to speak about this family. I was a volunteer, then I was the president, and then I can tell you that the most enriching experience was the one that I had for 8 years in the review committee. This has allowed me to understand the functioning of the various organizations in order to make them comply with the various standards. Also, I could assess the situation of Caritas and its interrelation with the regions, also with the Confederation. So managing this situation is at the basis of our Catholic identity and of our fraternal cooperation. Now, our history, I have considered the very beginning of our Confederation and its organization, and also the people that have to look after the various practical processes. I'm not going to start a debate, but I can just tell you that most Caritas today that are considered weak need to become more visible inside the Confederation. I have noticed that the 7 regions of Caritas Internationalis experience different contexts. North America contributes easily to the Confederation activities, while there are other regions that encounter more difficulties, and so at times they have a hard time surviving within the Confederation. So social distancing due to COVID-19 has showed how easy it is for Europeans and Americans to travel, but it's not. We cannot say the same thing for the others, because you've been vaccinated even up until the 4th dose in your countries in Europe and in North America. But the situation regarding vaccines, for example, on travel is different in the other regions. So the 7 regions are very different from each other from an institutional point of view in terms of human resources and their ability to work well. For example, I chair Mona region, which is in an Islamic context. So we have to pursue interreligious dialogue with Muslims, but also we have troubles doing that. At times there are Mona citizens that need a passport and visas to go from one country to another, or a Schengen visa. Those are very different, very hard to obtain. So coordination also is something that we've had to structure in order to have an effective administration process. So the member organizations have different difficulties in terms of human resources, institutions, and so on. And at times, some organizations are left behind, and they cannot even be supported by the regional confederation bodies. And at times, some of them just give up and decide to shut down and to start contributing to Caritas, and they focus instead on other forms of charity. Then there is one element. We have a historical fraternal relationships, and these work quite well, as we've heard yesterday. For example, Senegal and Jordan spoke about it, but at times they do not work very well, as in the case of Congo and Syria. But there are great difficulties in that realm too. On the contrary, the invasive attitude of Caritas Intramuras is negative. Instead of supporting local Caritas, it causes dangerous political problems in a context that is something that we do not know very well, and that could show and increase the fragility of national Caritas. And also, it represents a nuisance for the church. today we are commenting what we said yesterday, and we saw that yesterday at the central level, the Confederation is seeking for fresh air, and so by introducing management standards and with the Solidarity Fund, somebody knows it very well, and they are trying to establish this Solidarity Fund, and I invite everybody to participate in it in order to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so today, everybody recognizes this operation as something necessary for the professionalization of our Caritas and also to increase credibility of international cooperation. I am going to I mentioned Caritas, Northern Caritas, since the beginning of our operations regarding management standards. We have noticed something that is, for example, the attitude of Caritas Spain. Some years ago, I've always noticed. I am going to read a letter in Spanish that dates back to 5 years ago.
Comunas que facilitan formas de trabajo
to facilitate similar working procedures in the whole of Caritas organizations to improve the organization and international cooperation.
Je crois que si tout le monde suivait
So I think that everybody should follow this kind of approach. So we are experimenting something, and we've been experimenting for some time, and the results seem promising, or also seemed promising at the time when we started having that approach. Since 2009, central administration has made an effort to be closer to member organizations and find solutions for the different problems. I personally testified that with the support of the governance, the Secretary General and his team have tackled the issue of the functioning of Caritas in the face of the different challenges, the different problems that have to be solved and that need lots of diplomacy. And we've encountered many problems with many Caritas, such as the governance and the because sometimes they didn't think that this kind of management could be applied to them, to their organization or to their body. So at times we've had problems and we've had to solve them. Then COVID impact on the member organization and the most fragile regions. The impact is something that we have not measured completely yet, and so I think that we really have to open our eyes. The consequences of COVID-19 haven't been measured yet fully. So we need to reflect upon that. Then there are violent conflicts. Since the war in Ukraine, the situation for the weakest people in the world has worsened. Then there's the inflation rate, and you can see that it has an impact on everybody. Where I live, prices have increased, maybe because I'm thinking about energy and thinking about food that have increased significantly. So wars, conflicts, and suffering of the poorest people, migration, and all the fatal consequences of that. We know that very well in the Middle East, and then international sanctions and their impact on the weakest ones. Just think about Lebanon. Some years ago, Lebanon was like Swiss or the Middle East, and just look at Lebanon now. Almost all the population lives below the threshold of poverty. So I would like to seize this opportunity to congratulate with Caritas, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq that have been working very effectively despite international sanctions. So once again, we appeal to all Caritas that can influence on the government, can influence the government choices. sanctions really have an impact on the people and they generate lots of problems. So finally, last but not least, the disruption caused by the climate change with its catastrophes, hurricanes, earthquakes and floods, and so on. Also, we should consider the issue of the mitigation of damages. So I can say that this meeting is really necessary to renew our relationships based on our ideals. We need to reflect upon a reform of our confederation in order to adapt it to the current world. If you really want to pursue the mission of charity, of solidarity, and of synodality, I think that this kind of reform does not mean revolution, but it just means a new vision, a new common strategy that can be accepted by everybody in order to tackle the challenges of the future and of the present. So we should consider these issues by engaging administrations, finance bodies, institutions, and each one has to act based on solidarity, solidarity, and especially our Catholic identity. Open your eyes, dear friends, and just like we've done in the last years, we have to act together and consider the various needs of the various regions. Just think about the resilience of the Oriental Christians and of Africa. Just these regions have experienced great difficulties and they have reacted with great strength and resilience. And also we should never forget that Oriental Christians are in the gospel, in the scriptures, and in all symbols of our religion. I'm thinking about Palestine and Syria and so on. So also I've seen the strength and the joy of Southern American and Caribbean churches and also the empowerment of the youth and the women in Australia and in Oceania. Also, our movement of Caritas is present all over the world. Since we said yesterday, we have 3,000 dioceses and there are thousands and thousands of Caritas. So we are present all over the planet and we represent an extraordinary strength. Caritas are in the countryside, in the jungles, in the forests, in the suburbs, in the cities, and also in Australia and in the Pacific region. So we need to structure and unify this strength. Also, we need to professionalize this strength, and we need to find the right methods based on our Catholic identity and our fraternal relationships that really have to be earnest and honest. So I think that based on our statutes and the internal regulations that I have revised personally, we should review the General Secretariat that should reflect the synodality of the Confederation and put at the center the coordination and the capacity building, the communication, the advocacy, the urgent matters, and it should be supported by the regions in order to serve the weakest ones. We have been doing that, but we have to do it in the future too. Also, we have to consider the regions. Regions are there, but at times we do not really know what they do. So maybe we should enhance their actions also. We should strengthen the various regions and we should acknowledge their existence. We should increase their power. We need to reform the mindsets and the spirits in order to express the charity of the church for real. Finally, I think that we should unify and coordinate the various charitable institutions of the church that at times feel isolated and compete with each other. I think that we could hold a conference in Rome where we could establish a certain form of coordination among all those organizations, and we would become an extraordinary force because anyhow we do not have to compete with each other, but we compete at times with other NGOs and some institutions. And at times there are some organizations that are isolated, bishops that are isolated. We should instead share our means and efforts. So today we feel a new dynamic energy, so we should seize it, we should exploit it in order to become more effective in our mission, in order to reduce suffering and improve dignity.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
And now we are a little bit late on the schedule, but not too much. I will just ask because we are going to have the coffee break, and at 11 there will be a small press conference here in this room. But before leaving, I would like to ask our regional coordinator. Unfortunately, Albert Mashiga is not here with us, so we have 6 out of 7. Just, let's say, 1-2 minutes each, one takeaway from what the Cardinal said this morning. So from your regional point of view, how we can work together, we can strengthen our fraternal cooperation, also valuing the difference of culture that we have in our confederation. Who would like to start? Jean, go ahead.
I think from the perspective of North America, the idea that we need to understand how our culture has formed us, and also to have that interest, integrity, desire to learn what the cultures of others are throughout the world. I think that would be really key for us to appreciate the need for and the value of fraternal cooperation.
Thank you very much, Jean. Zar.
I'll also speak in terms of culture because, as you know, in Asia, we have 25 member organizations, and they are subdivided into 4 sub-regions: Central Asia, which is closer to Europe, South Asia, which is a little bit closer to the Middle East, then Southeast Asia, which is close to Oceania, and the East Asia, which are close to the north, also Russia. So we speak of culture because Asia is probably among the most diverse region in the world, and so we manage, even as we are diverse, to become together. And I think I would highlight on this because, you know, even if there's cultural diversity, there will always be a way of how we come together as one region. So I'd like to hold on to that, and I would like to share that with you because I know that in some regions, there's also some cultural diversity, and yet within that cultural diversity, we find unity. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Zar. That's right. You find our unity and also in our diversity. And now, Maria, in Caritas Europa, Maria Niemann.
Thank you. I think the walking together and walking humbly with God and like this focus on the listening is something that I'm taking away. I think it's something that we see very clearly in our region, how the dialogues, I mean, be it between regions, but also within the region. We also have a very diverse and rich region in that sense, that this dialogue always makes us progress and very often leads us to a situation where we can come to common understanding. But also when we don't, and when we don't find the common solutions, that at least it helps for the respect and the understanding of one another, which is strengthening the relations as such. Just understanding why is someone coming from the situation they are coming from. My experience is that the intentions are always good, or generally very good, but that there can be a lack of understanding of certain principles or identity or way of working, which I think is maybe something we'll speak about later today as well, the importance of ensuring that we have that proper induction. But I think this walking together in listening mode and in dialogue, this will be the key for us. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maria. Very important to go behind. Yes. Would you like, sure. Would you like to speak? And the president of Caritas Asia, Monsignor, Caritas Africa, sorry, Monsignor Gabriel would like to
Thank you very
speak.
much. Excuse for Albert Mashika, our secretary is not too well with his two legs, the legs. He is under medication. Pope Francis has said Africa is one of the two spiritual lungs of humanity. There's exponential growth of Catholicism in Africa. So it means there's a signal, there is a sign of the future of Catholicism. Africa is still growing, so there's hope for Africa. There's something new for Africa. A historian said, Pliny the Young, ex Africa semper aliquid novi. From Africa, always there's something new. I want to signal that there's something new for this fraternal cooperation. Let us not be afraid. We shall all succeed. Like there is hope in Africa, there is hope for fraternal cooperation, there is hope for the world. And thank you very much for Africa.
Thank you very much, Monsignor Gabriel, also Vice President of Caritas Internationalis, and thank you for this. This is still hope. That's very encouraging for our reflection today. So, Karam, let's switch to Middle East and North Africa.
Yeah, thank you. So back to Cardinal Tagle, he highlight mainly working together, as also was said, which is an action. So, and this is where, of course, we need to take action. And as well, we need skills for that. And discernment is one of those skills in order to be able to understand culture. And here I would like to highlight very quickly what the testimony of Monsignor Nicolas yesterday about Caritas Algeria. And here to say that, yes, maybe we sympathized, we've heard about something big. Maybe the action was quick, it was small, just closing a Caritas, but at the same time, it's a major thing that might happen anywhere else. But here also, again, the question for all of us, where is the action we will take? What is the discernment that we will have? And how are we going to respect culture, but of course, to accompany those situations? Thank you.
Thank you, Karam. And Father Chico?
Bueno, siguiendo un poquito lo que nos proponía el señor.
If we follow what the Cardinal was saying, I think that in Latin America, we started thinking about the fraternal cooperation in the 80s, and the fraternal cooperation is just not a thinking, but it's a way of being and act, and it is spirituality. This is a way of living that makes us live in a community and being human being. In our experience, we organized as Latin America Secretariat, and we faced the different Caritas, and we invited the brother Caritas in the north of Europe and also in the US to enter as a person, more people, because we can feel the differences, and the most important thing is to localize. This is a global effort to be localized, considering the subsidiary principle. And using a technique of 3-5 years, we have to be the active actors that want to work in this sense. And we have the freedom to do this or not. For us, nothing changes, but for poor people, actually, it changes. The most important thing is work together, but it's not easy. It's not work for an individual, but for a group.
Please, Tini, Caritas Oceania.
Thank you. My name is Tini. I'm the regional coordinator in the Oceania. And our culture is, we let the women speak first and the elders, and then we speak last. That's always been our culture. And the sharing from and the reflection from His Eminence this morning really consolidates that, because from where I stand as a regional coordinator and the years that I've spent coordinating the Pacific, although not many members, but this is one of the things that I've come out with in trying to bring the Pacific together, is the understanding, the appreciation of each other's culture. We can all read and write English, grants, proposals, whatever. The requests from this part of the world, requests from Cecilia, the requests from other members of CI. But when it comes to understanding why we say the things we say, it is very important that we understand the culture. And as His Eminence shared this morning, it's something very simple to us, maybe very complicated to the Europeans, to the Africans, to the North Americans, and vice versa. Sometimes you send an email and we don't know you're joking. But the words you're saying or your joke is not funny to me. And it is very important that I speak with you. I do the Zoom with you, that I come here. Coming here to Rome is a very, very long journey for us. And we are beginning to look at how can Oceania does its work well by not coming to attend all these meetings, because we're trying to save the planet, save the trees, save everything. How can we do this? So these are the reflections from us at this point in time. The cost of living and everything. Do we have to come here every single meeting CI asks us to come? But deep down there is that personal connection, that personal gathering, personal conversation when we come to see each other. It is very important, even though we value other things about climate change and that. At the same time, there's a time where we can come together. Because it's only when we come together and share. You look at me, I look at you. And then when I say a joke, I give you a funny face or something like that, and you understand it's a joke. I'm not serious. So it's very important for me. It really touched my heart, and it touched the people of the Pacific's heart, listening to His Eminence sharing this morning. Because we can all do academics and all those things, but the culture is one challenge that we have. When I used to come to my first meetings up to now, and I listened to Albert Mashika, and he's a representative from Africa way back in 2015, I can never understand what they're talking about. It's much later I start to appreciate where their heart is. And like Gabriel, I don't even understand his background. I used to go to school in Israel, but that was only a year. But the things that he shared, I can never comprehend until I speak with him. And all the other regions as well. I come from a region where a lot of us are small island in the Pacific. Very small. We have big oceans, except for New Zealand and Australia. And our fraternal cooperation with them is one challenge that we are overcoming right now. And the other fraternal cooperation that we need to do is us, Oceania, and CI. So CI, please hear our prayers. Don't tell us to come to Rome in 2 weeks' time. Because it's not easy. Sometimes maybe in the spirit of fraternal cooperation, you come to the Pacific and you know, and you feel, and you know why we say the things we say and the things we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tini, and well taken. I know that we ask so much from CI all the time. Okay, so thank you very much for giving us...
One minute. I'm sorry, but we are already late. But there will be time in the afternoon for a question from the floor, and we are already 20 minutes late from the from the schedule. And there is a coffee break waiting for all of you. And in 10 minutes' time, we'll start a press conference here. So I recommend all of you. There will be journalists coming inside. You can leave whatever you want, but be aware that there will be other people going into the room. And also a technical information for the one leaving today. You are requested possibly to leave the room now. I think that you can leave the luggage at the reception. Before closing, with just information about the working group. So I will leave the floor to Moira in order to explain all of you what you're supposed to do after the coffee break. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. So we are not coming back to the plenary before going to working group. So after the coffee break, we will go directly in working groups. So we call for responsibility of each of us to go straight to working group. What is the topic of the working group? Marta highlighted how today we focus on ACT. And yesterday, one of the points, one of the outcome of the working group session was to have a deeper document, a sort of modus operandi, to integrate the partnership and fraternal cooperation guiding principles. So the objective today is to go a bit more into practice about fraternal cooperation and what should be the elements that we would like to integrate into a modus operandi for fraternal cooperation. We will have 9 groups, and the groups will be divided by subject. So by subject of reflection, because we know very well that the reflection on a modus operandi for fraternal cooperation is broad, or could be broad. So we ask the groups to focus on different themes. We will have 3 groups to reflect upon what are the elements of related to Catholic identity, values and principles of Caritas that should be included in a modus operandi of fraternal cooperation. For example, yesterday we talked about induction for the staff, formation, training, dialogue with local church, etc. So we ask these 3 groups to reflect upon these and other additional points that can come out from the reflection. Other 3 groups, we reflect on capacity strengthening, capacity sharing, accompaniment, and prioritizing fund to empower member organization, local member organization. So in this case, the group is requested to reflect on the instruments or the actions that should be included in a modus operandi to enhance fraternal cooperation in the area of organizational development. Example, how to include the management standard in the modus operandi as a common requirements, possible percentage or investment on capacity strengthening within programs, commitment for longer-term partnership, meal, common reporting agreement, and etc. Then we will have 2 groups which will reflect on in-country partnership. So yesterday and also in many meetings we reflected a lot and we raised the points regarding relationship between Caritas member organization when a Caritas partner comes into a country. And this has been highlighted as a challenge. So what are the actions, the instruments, the mechanisms that we would like or we wish to have in a modus operandi? And one group, we reflect on advocacy issues. Yesterday, several speakers, several panelists from different regions highlighted how important should be to do common advocacy. So this group, we call this group to reflect on there should be elements of advocacy in the modus operandi for fraternal cooperation, and what should be the elements to be included. The moderators have already received a guiding paper, so they can help and support the participants to reflect. And as we did yesterday, we will have one moderator and one secretary for each group. We will have 9 groups. The secretaries are already informed about the venue where the group will work. So one group, Francophone group on Catholic identity, moderated by Saria Kabsa, with Monica Mayer as a secretary. Second group for Catholic identity, Anglophone, moderated by Jean Bale, with Rebecca Rathbone as a secretary. Third group, Catholic identity, Hispanophone, moderated by Agustina Langwagen, and as a secretary, Cecilia Nicoletti. Then a group on capacity strengthening and accompaniment, Anglophone group moderated by Anthony Gatt, and the secretary will be Stephanie McGillivray. Second group, Anglophone, moderated on IDCS, moderated by Mark Somers with Anna Maria Vrsachova as a secretary. Third group, IDCS Francophone, moderated by Simone Minou and Eli Basila as a secretary. Then 2 groups for in-country partners, one Anglophone group, Silvia Sinibaldi, with Roberta De Simini as a secretary, another Anglophone group moderated by Michael Hibe and John Coughlin as a secretary, and group on advocacy, Anglophone, Faderna MacDonald has a moderator, and Brianna Fitzpatrick has a secretary. Don't worry. You have the paper. There will be some adjustment. There are some adjustments in the paper because of the availability of the moderator. You will find the indication of the location of the group in front of the venue, or you can ask directly to me or to the reception. I'm not listing now the venue where you are going to meet. And okay, these are the logistic indications and orientation from the working groups. We call all groups to be focused on the reflection. If you prefer, I can say where the groups are located. Okay, fine. So the Catholic Identity Group, Francophone, moderated by Saria, is in venue Gemma, just close to the venue, here, the same floor. The Anglophone group, moderated by Jean, Catholic Identity, is in venue Gemma, here, because there are 2 groups in this venue, divided, as yesterday. The Hispanophone group, Catholic Identity, moderated by Agustina, is in venue Ametista, first floor. The first Anglophone group for IDCS, moderated by Anthony Gatt, is in venue Turquese, first floor. Then the second IDCS Anglophone group, moderated by Mark Somers, will be located in venue Topazio, first floor. The third group on IDCS Francophone will be located in venue Onice, just here, close to the venue. It will be moderated by Simone. The working group Anglophone for in-country partners, moderated by Silvia Sinibaldi, will be here in venue Onice, close to the amphitheater. Then the second in-country partners group, moderated by Michael Ibe, will be in venue Corallo, first floor. And the group on advocacy, moderated by Father MacDonald, will be in Sala Zaffiro, in front of the restaurant and bar. So it will be straight from the bar. Monsignor Landau, you have?
Just a moment, please. Just a moment, please. I just wanted to say something with regard to what was said at the end of our panel. I would like to express a threefold gratitude. First of all, my gratitude that you are here with us. I know that this is a lot of traveling, a lot of work, and that it is not easy at all. But the Confederation would not be complete without you. And I'm very grateful that you are with us and that you dedicate this time and your energy and your love to Caritas in that way. So this is a word of gratitude I really would like to say when I listened to you. Thank you so much. A second word of gratitude is for those who spoke yesterday, because they focused on the strengths, they focused on what we could learn from each other, and what are the positive examples we have to share. And the third word of gratitude is towards our cardinal. It was so good to hear this dimension of joy, this dimension of being one family in all this colorfulness and the necessity of conversion, but this positive melody of faith. And I would like to express this gratitude to His Eminence, but also to all who organized this event, this conference, because without that we would neither have heard what was said yesterday, nor have had the occasion to listen to our Cardinal. Thanks to all. And sorry for this moment, but I wanted to express this gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Monsignor Landau. So we will see again here at 12:30 for the result of the working group. loro anche la possibilità di parlare di quello che succede nei loro paesi, delle varie difficoltà, ovviamente per quanto riguarda soprattutto la situazione umanitaria, ed è anche un modo per poter dare spazio alle tante altre crisi che avvengono e magari non ottengono l'attenzione mediatica. Ovviamente abbiamo anche una lista di altre persone se volete intervistare dopo. Oggi saremo brevissimi, daremo la parola ai vari speaker per una presentazione di 5 minuti. Se volete potete fare le domande, altrimenti anche interviste one to one, sono tutti qui e disponibili. Do semplicemente la parola prima di iniziare alla mia collega Morea Monacelli, che è il direttore del Dipartimento Operation, per spiegarvi in 2 minuti anche di che cosa si tratta, perché siamo qui, perché si sono riunite tutte queste Caritas dal mondo.
Grazie Marta, buongiorno a tutti voi. Qui abbiamo innanzitutto 64 organizzazioni membro della Confederazione rappresentate, che rappresentano tutte le 7 regioni della Confederazione. Abbiamo in questa conferenza più di 120 partecipanti e l'importanza di essere tutti qui, soprattutto di essere tutti qui dopo 2 lunghi anni di pandemia in cui ci ritroviamo tutti insieme anche fisicamente, è proprio quella di avere tutte le regioni rappresentate, tutti i diversi contesti e anche tanti paesi, tanti rappresentanti di paesi che stanno attraversando crisi importanti, crisi umanitarie maggiori. La conferenza è intitolata Together Serving Out of Love, Strengthening Our Fraternal Cooperation. Insieme servire per amore, rafforzare la nostra cooperazione fraterna con un orizzonte 2030, cioè analizzare il presente, la nostra storia, il presente per guardare al futuro. A quale futuro? L'obiettivo di questa conferenza è proprio riflettere insieme, discutere su qual è lo status del nostro lavorare insieme come Confederazione e lavorare insieme al servizio di quelle comunità e quelle popolazioni che hanno più bisogno. Lavorare insieme in modo coordinato, soprattutto in questo momento complesso e difficile del nostro mondo in cui ci sono tante crisi e tante crisi multidimensionali, guerre, insicurezza alimentare, impatto del cambiamento climatico, fame. Abbiamo qui rappresentanti di paesi e di regioni dove il livello di povertà sta aumentando in modo esponenziale come conseguenza di tanti fattori, come dicevo, la guerra, l'impatto del cambiamento climatico, gli effetti collaterali della guerra in Ucraina. E siamo qui per capire insieme come migliorare il nostro coordinamento, il nostro lavoro insieme per rispondere a queste molteplici crisi, quelle che tutti i giorni, quelle di cui ogni giorno abbiamo informazioni dai media, ma anche quelle che possiamo considerare e che vediamo essere crisi quasi dimenticate, ma noi abbiamo la responsabilità e la volontà di non dimenticarle e di metterle in prima pagina, proprio perché ci sono popolazioni in estrema povertà e che hanno ingenti bisogni in modo urgente. Quindi i punti sono veramente il coordinamento, la risposta e anche in questa risposta coordinata come garantire che la leadership delle Caritas nazionali sia al centro delle nostre risposte, come le comunità locali siano al centro di ogni nostra risposta. Quindi come lavorare insieme, come confederazione, come organizzazioni membro, con la leadership delle Caritas locali e rispettando e rispondendo ai bisogni prioritari delle comunità locali. Mi fermo qui, poi se ci sono domande sono disponibile per rispondere.
Grazie. Iniziamo, parlavamo, era prima degli effetti del cambiamento climatico, parlerà in inglese. So we start with the Philippines. I will go according to the table. And I'll leave the floor now to Monsignor Bagaforo from Caritas Philippines for a brief overview of the situation.
Thank you very much. I might as well present to you what I have prepared, bullet points, because of time. Well, number one, according to the latest studies and world reports, the Philippines this year top 193 countries with the highest disaster risks from natural disasters. Last year, the Philippines ranked number 8. This year, we are number 1. It would have been better if we are number 1 in providing the basic social needs of our people, but it is not. Instead, we are tragically sending more vulnerable families and communities for their death if we will not act collectively as a people, as a nation. For example, the COVID pandemic has exposed how our government and our nation, our structures, has failed in terms of providing its constituents access to basic services like health, employment, and food. In fact, according to the latest survey, more than 3 million Filipinos experience involuntary hunger. The recent typhoons, Rai and Nalgay, effectively damaged houses, the agriculture sector, and vital infrastructures like schools and health centers. And according to Caritas Philippines' rapid assessment reports, more than 10 million Filipinos were affected by the recent typhoons of October and of September. For totally damaged houses alone, the statistics show that more than 1.2 million families have lost their homes. Of these figures, at least 800,000 families will not be able to construct their houses in the next couple of years. And Caritas Philippines is only able to respond at least 10,000 shelter repair and construction requests from the different dioceses who were affected by the typhoons. Hence, we are looking at more than most typhoon families affected with no homes this coming Christmas and this New Year, and maybe for the next many more months. And next year, we shall be celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Super Typhoon Haiyan, the strongest and the most disastrous typhoon ever visited our country 10 years ago. But, with the recent typhoons that we experience, and the average of around almost like 30 typhoons in a year, we have not really learned much from our own experiences and the lessons brought about by these typhoons. The dilly-dallying of our government leaders tells us that more deaths and poverty will be recorded as the Philippines face more than 20 to 30 typhoons in a year. From 2013, while we have ensured at Caritas Philippines to improve our humanitarian responses mechanism from the ground up, we recognize that without our government's stronger support to more efficient disaster relief and rehabilitation programs, reforms in ecological policies, and a more pro-poor view on how public funds are allocated and dispersed, our communities, mostly poor communities, will still be left on their own during every disaster. Caritas Philippines, during the recent typhoons of this year, was able to generate more than 1.5 million euros for emergency response. We were able to support at least 300,000 families with emergency food packs, hygiene kits, shelter repair kits, medicines, household kits, and emergency livelihood programs. In 2021, last year, we repacked our programs. We redesign our programs in Caritas so that we will be able to holistically respond and integrate our humanitarian works in terms of long-term, more sustainable development and advocacy programs. We prioritize health and nutrition, youth and education, institutional development and capacity building, livelihood and food security, humanitarian response, good governance, justice and peace, and ecology. And we call this one our 7 legacy programs, as we celebrated last year our 500 years of Christianity. So this is our legacy program in response to our celebration of the 500 years of Christianity in the Philippines. Overall, we have allocated more than 2.5 million euros just this year for these programs. And Caritas, as a global confederation, is doing a lot more in partnering with us. And so thank you very much for this opportunity that we are able to share with you what we are doing in the Philippines and with regards to Caritas Philippines. We are thankful for your coming here. We would be able to share to you what is in the Philippines, our stories, and by sharing to you the truth, we would be able to help many of our poor communities in the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Adesso passo la parola a Monsignor Bertin per Caritas Djibouti, che parlerà in italiano. Chiedo solo di essere...
È da tanto tempo, da 30 anni. Quello naturale è quello della siccità. Abbiamo appena ascoltato il confratello vescovo delle Filippine, dove il problema là sono i tifoni e troppa acqua, troppa pioggia. Invece da noi, in Somalia, è mancanza di pioggia da quasi 3 anni. Ma non è solo la Somalia, è tutto il Corno d'Africa e quindi comprende sia la Somalia che parte del nord-est del Kenya e parte del sud-est, sud-ovest dell'Etiopia. E questo problema si aggiunge al problema, come ho detto, di circa 31 anni di instabilità politica, perché a partire dalla fine degli anni 1990 all'inizio del 91 lo Stato è crollato, si sta facendo fatica a far rinascere le istituzioni statali e accanto a questa fatica di far rinascere le istituzioni statali in un Stato federale, c'è il problema della ribellione da parte di elementi fondamentalisti islamici chiamati al-Shabaab in modo particolare, ma anche una parte di ISIS, che rendono le zone rurali specialmente ingovernabili, irraggiungibili anche ai mezzi, ai soccorsi. Avete sentito, per esempio, che anche le città non sono risparmiate. Verso la fine del mese di ottobre c'è stato un nuovo attacco molto feroce che ha costato la vita ad almeno 116 persone e più di 300 altri che sono rimasti feriti. Ed è questa combinazione di mancanza di pioggia da 3 o 4-5 stagioni e instabilità politica e insicurezza che rende drammatica la situazione. Su 15 milioni di abitanti si pensa che forse la metà, 7 milioni, riesce a malapena ad avere un pasto al giorno. Ecco, di fronte a questa situazione molto grave c'è anche la nostra risposta. Abbiamo appena lanciato un appello di emergenza con Caritas Internationalis, dove ci siamo messi insieme. L'altra Caritas Somalia si è messa insieme alla Caritas sorella dell'Irlanda, che si chiama Trochera. E lì abbiamo fatto questo appello in risposta a questi bisogni urgenti. Si pensa che ci siano almeno 3 milioni e mezzo di sfollati interni, a parte il quasi 800.000 nei paesi di rifugiati, nei paesi vicini, Kenya, Etiopia, Djibouti e Yemen. L'intervento nostro come Caritas Somalia si riferisce in modo... Caritas Somalia è una struttura molto piccola, ma in effetti noi abbiamo continuato in tutti questi anni a fare degli interventi mirati, brevi, ma efficaci, perché in un clima di insicurezza, soprattutto causato da elementi fanatici islamici, il Somalia è un paese completamente musulmano, bisogna tener conto di questa situazione. E allora la nostra risposta in questo momento come Caritas Somalia passa attraverso delle collaborazioni con amici e organizzazioni somale che sono sul posto. Noi ci limitiamo a fare delle visite di controllo e a fare degli appelli. Per esempio, stiamo intervenendo nel distretto di Dainile, che si trova a Mogadiscio, stiamo intervenendo a Brava, che si trova nella regione del Basso Shebeli, stiamo intervenendo nella zona del Hiran, a Buloburti e nella regione del Bacol, vicino a Hoddur, con dei progetti che chiamiamo WASH, con parola semplice, cioè Water, Sanitation and Hygiene. Io devo ringraziare già fin d'ora sia la Conferenza Episcopale Italiana, che aveva già cominciato ad aiutarci già qualche mese prima di questo appello, e poi naturalmente la Caritas sorella Caritas Italiana. Ecco, il mio appello è un appello sia a favore di una raccolta fondi per rispondere a queste necessità, ma sia anche per rendere coscienti quelli che mi ascoltano, altre persone, che il problema somalo deve essere risolto attraverso una più grande collaborazione, coordinamento dei somali stessi, anzitutto, perché sono molto divisi tra di loro, ma anche da parte della comunità internazionale, che è presente in modi diversi, ma a volte ho l'impressione che la Somalia serva un po' da ostaggio o meglio, la popolazione povera della Somalia serva da ostaggio per altre mire di carattere ideologico o di carattere politico. Ecco, è tutto quello che posso dirvi in questo momento. Grazie per l'ascolto.
Grazie infinite a Monsignor Giorgio Bertin per la descrizione della purtroppo drammatica situazione. Restiamo nella drammaticità perché andiamo in Armenia con il Sua Beatitudine il Patriarca Minassian, che è anche Presidente di Caritas Armenia.
Ecco, prima di tutto vorrei ringraziarvi per questa opportunità di esprimersi per la Caritas Armenia e soprattutto la situazione in Armenia e degli armeni in generale. Purtroppo l'immagine che presenterò non è tanto felice perché in questo mondo nel quale sopportiamo tutte le difficoltà belliche che ci circondano, noi siamo passati da un periodo molto grave che è stata la prima, la guerra dei 40 giorni, dove gli aggressori dall'Azerbaigian avevano purtroppo attaccato un popolo che è pacifico in Nagorno-Karabakh, dove praticamente non avevano tutte le preparazioni di fare una guerra, e là abbiamo perso più di 5.000 giovani, quindi posso dire tutta una generazione. E praticamente in questo momento devo ringraziare la Caritas in generale, Caritas di tutto il mondo, dove sono corsi a dare una mano perché questa guerra ha dato anche come risultato più di 18.000 persone come rifugiati durante l'inverno, e sapete che l'inverno in quella regione è molto grave, va sotto zero di 40 gradi.
Wow.
Quindi praticamente era molto difficile incontrare le persone che hanno perso mariti, figli o genitori e dargli un rifugio e aiutarli perché avevano perso tutte le loro proprietà e ricchezze perché quel territorio era confiscato. A parte quello, appena usciti da quella guerra, vediamo lo stesso popolo che attacca di nuovo, questa volta non Nagorno-Karabakh, ma da un altro punto di confine, l'Armenia stessa. E là anche abbiamo perso tanti di questi giovani militari che praticamente nella speranza sempre di trovare anche noi come popolo un rifugio per la pace, e chiedendo la pace e tutti i metodi per poter arrivare, purtroppo abbiamo avuto come risposta gli orecchi chiusi di tante nazioni che praticamente non hanno dato se no delle promesse di parole. Ma in tutta quella presentazione che do adesso a questo momento non è altro che un appello a una risveglia della coscienza internazionale e soprattutto per i paesi cristiani, perché davanti a loro c'è un popolo cristiano da secoli che è perseguitato per la sua religione e la testimonianza è stata sempre a sacrificare tante cose. Ma purtroppo in questo secondo periodo della guerra non abbiamo avuto una risonanza, un aiuto, se no sempre torno alla Caritas che non ha sacrificato tutto per arrivare proprio in tempo e dare mano. Comunque è così, io vorrei ringraziare tutti quelli e soprattutto la nostra Caritas, perché anche io sono parte della Caritas, per il loro sacrificio e la loro presenza, e penso che viene in accordo di quella mentalità che noi oggi viviamo, la fratellanza, la cooperazione, lo spirito della Caritas. È qui che noi veramente è stata un'opportunità, anche potrei usare questa parola, un risveglio della nostra identità, della nostra coscienza e il nostro dovere e la nostra missione come Caritas, Caritas Internationalis, Caritas Europa, Caritas regionale e tutte le nazioni che fanno parte. Grazie di tutto.
Grazie a lei, Beatitudine. E ora andiamo in Siria con Monsignor Abash che parlerà in spagnolo, quindi se volete dovete selezionare il canale 1 per l'inglese. Il canale dell'inglese o l'1 o il 2, non siamo sicuri, ma la traduzione sarà in italiano, per cui Eccellenza, cosa quiere?
Buongiorno a tutti e a tutte. Prima di tutto, grazie a Caritas Internationalis e tutte le Caritas che stanno partecipando a questo congresso così grande che si concentra sul tema della cooperazione fraterna. In secondo luogo, la situazione in Siria oggi, dopo una guerra lunga di 11 anni di guerra molto grave, oggi abbiamo una guerra ancora più grave, che è la guerra economica. La guerra economica che colpisce tutta la Siria in modo molto forte. Dal 2019 ad oggi abbiamo avuto l'embargo totale contro l'economia siriana. Niente entra o esce dal paese, nessuna risorsa materiale. In secondo luogo, la povertà. Oggi in Siria l'80% delle famiglie siriane si trovano al di sotto della soglia di povertà. In secondo luogo, c'è una crisi, la crisi dell'istruzione. Vi sono tantissimi bambini che non hanno accesso alla scuola, quasi 1.200.000 bambini, ragazzi che non vanno a scuola. E poi la terza guerra che abbiamo già da 3 anni si riferisce alle migrazioni dei giovani. Oggi molti popoli cristiani vivono in questa situazione. Fuggono verso l'Europa, vanno in Romania, in Bielorussia e poi entrano in Europa in modo illegale. Da 3 anni ad oggi vi sono stati molti giovani, ci sono molti giovani fuori dal nostro paese. Per questo adesso la situazione è molto difficile anche all'interno della nostra Chiesa. Non ci sono giovani. E poi voi sapete bene che in Siria oggi tutto è molto caro, non c'è petrolio, non vi sono materiali non v'è cibo, è tutto molto caro e la nostra vita è diventata molto difficile. E poi anche la crisi del Libano ha colpito molto la Siria, soprattutto le banche per i trasferimenti bancari, bonifici dal Libano alla Siria è molto difficile. E anche questa è una situazione molto grave. Ora io voglio ringraziare tantissimo Caritas Internationalis e tutte le Caritas che ci sostengono in Siria, ad Aleppo, Homs e Damasco. Molti collaborano con noi a titolo gratuito, personale della Caritas, e io voglio ringraziarvi per questo sostegno. Oggi, tuttavia, vi sono molte famiglie che non ricevono nessun tipo di aiuto dai cristiani, ma occorre sostenere prima di tutto le famiglie cristiane affinché permangano nel loro paese, altrimenti se ne andranno. Oggi la popolazione della Siria rappresenta il 4% della popolazione totale. Prima della guerra era l'8%, oggi è il 4%. E questi sono dati importanti. Quindi bisogna sostenere le famiglie cristiane affinché restino nel loro paese e affinché possano tornare a lavorare, tornare ai nostri paesi, perché la Siria, non dimentichiamocelo, è la culla del cristianesimo. Grazie, grazie a tutti e grazie per il vostro impegno. Grazie. Riyadh.
Yes, thank you very much. We are very glad to attend this very important meeting for fraternal cooperation, and we heard this morning a very nice word from our President Cardinal Tagle. In fact, the situation in Syria is very challenging. After more than 11 and a half years of the war. The war started in Syria March 2011. At the moment, the security situation is good except some area in the northeast and northwest of Syria. But now the economical situation is very challenging because according to UN statistics, over than 90% of the Syrian people live under the poverty line, plus around 70% for insecure food. They cannot eat because before the crisis, if we compare the US dollar before the crisis, it was 50 Syrian pound per each dollar, now more than 5,300, yani 100 times more comparing before the crisis. and you can imagine the prices of the goods, everything. Whereas the salary at the same time of the people increase only around 10%. The people really, some people in the public sector, they received around $25 per month. This is nothing, they cannot eat. Therefore, Caritas Syria, the demand is really huge in Syria, because also some cities in Syria completely destroyed, some city in Syria partially destroyed, and we work in a lot of Syrian cities, and we try to do our best, because really the demand is really huge. We work with other organizations to at least cover some expenses for the family to survive. In fact, we have in Syria around 6 million Syrian people, IDPs, inside the other cities in Syria, because they cannot come back home because their houses are destroyed. We are doing our best with all because the need is really huge for everything, especially for medical care, because around 70% of the hospitals and the clinic are destroyed during the crisis. Plus the infrastructures, electricity, water, everything. The people in Syria now needs for everything possible to support them to survive. And we also ask Caritas Internationalis and other organizations to support Syria, not to forget the Syrian crisis, because now they have other priority, it seems, the war between Russia and Ukraine and so on. Therefore, we ask, and our nuncio also ask our patriarch bishops always remind the other countries not to forget Syria and the crisis in Syria. Hopefully we can do something at the end for the poor people, because really the majority of the Syrian people live under the poverty line. Plus what happened for the sanctions and Caesar Act affected the poorest people, not affected the rich people, affected the children first of all, and the poorest people in Syria. We hope to do as much as we can to support our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Riyad, and thank you for the important work. And now the last but not least, Monsignor Azua, che nos escuchamos sobre la situazione in Siria.
Abbiamo ascoltato la situazione della Siria, ma anche quella del Venezuela è molto grave, molto complicata. Cosa può dirci? Grazie, innanzitutto grazie a Caritas Internationalis per questo spazio, per dare visibilità alla situazione delle nostre realtà, nel mio caso del mio paese, del Venezuela. Noi da 22 anni abbiamo lo stesso governo, lo stesso presidente da 22 anni e possiamo dire che continuiamo a vedere l'impatto sociale di una crisi prolungata che di fatto è diventato uno stato permanente di crisi nel nostro paese, perché sebbene negli ultimi anni, negli ultimi 2 in particolare, abbiamo visto dei miglioramenti dal punto di vista economico, non vi sono aspettative positive per le famiglie venezuelane a causa della crisi profonda nel sistema politico, nel sistema economico. E questo ha fatto sì che 6 milioni di fratelli nostri venezuelani emigrassero verso altri paesi in diverse ondate. Nella prima ondata, i figli dei migranti arrivati in Venezuela tanti anni fa, poi la seconda ondata, i nostri professionisti sparsi ora in tutto il mondo. E questo naturalmente porta a una perdita di risorse umane, professionali, che adesso avrebbero potuto mettersi al servizio del paese e che invece sono al servizio di altri governi, di altri paesi. Vi sono tante persone che se ne vanno dal paese senza risorse, come voi saprete bene, vi sono dei corridoi per le migrazioni che sono molto delicati e anche pericolosi, e questo ha avuto ripercussioni all'interno del paese in cui attualmente, grazie anche agli studi fatti con Caritas, vi sono 10 milioni di persone che versano in situazioni disperate dovute alla crisi alimentare, il cambiamento climatico. Vi sono state inondazioni che hanno distrutto intere comunità, o le piantagioni anche ha avuto ripercussioni anche sulla produzione economica. Esiste una classe media che si è vista impoverita e il Venezuela è stato sempre caratterizzato da una classe media molto nutrita di professionisti. Tuttavia adesso questa classe media si è impoverita e per questo si è perso il 25% del capitale umano, nonostante il fatto che alcuni stiano ritornando perché non hanno trovato un lavoro migliore, un alloggio migliore in altri paesi. Adesso vi sono 75.000 persone venezuelane che vogliono lasciare il paese entro il prossimo anno, e questa è una situazione molto grave. Abbiamo molti dei nostri fratelli in questi altri paesi e tutto ciò che ha a che vedere con gli aspetti legali ed economici diventa ancora più complicato. Non si conoscono le vere dimensioni della crisi né all'interno né all'esterno del paese, perché il governo non mostra statistiche relative alla realtà che si vive nel paese. E quindi Caritas Venezuela si è riproposta di condurre uno studio nell'ambito della nutrizione infantile, e questo ha mostrato un livello di malnutrizione molto ampia sul territorio venezuelano, e questo non si è saputo dal governo centrale. Tuttavia noi siamo riusciti a identificare questa situazione problematica e Venezuela è considerato oggi come uno dei paesi con maggiore disuguaglianza a livello di reddito, perché oggi una persona arriva anche a guadagnare $2. C'è chi ne guadagna $500 al mese. Vi sono delle enormi differenze nel paese. Siamo passati dall'iperinflazione all'inflazione e quest'anno registreremo il 125% di inflazione, il che significa che il reddito delle persone non è sufficiente per il mantenimento di una famiglia né per una nutrizione adeguata, un'alimentazione adeguata delle persone. Come hanno detto i miei fratelli, abbiamo avuto un inasprimento dei nostri problemi a causa della pandemia. Vi sono c'è 1.200.000 ragazzi, bambini che non vanno a scuola, e questo ci porta a pensare a sviluppare tanti programmi che Caritas Venezuela sta attuando, e proprio oggi si riunisce il gruppo Caritas Venezuela sull'immigrazione a causa della situazione esistente in vari paesi d'accoglienza, per vedere come possiamo assumere con maggior forza e una maggiore presenza della Chiesa l'impegno di aiutare i nostri fratelli venezuelani che si trovano fuori dal paese. Un progetto che stiamo portando avanti nel paese si riferisce alla grande quantità di disastri naturali dovuti ai cambiamenti climatici. Cerchiamo, visto che si parla di cooperazione fraterna, di chiedere aiuto anche ai nostri fratelli che possono collaborare con noi per sfamare le tante persone che si trovano in difficoltà estreme. In questo momento, in vista del prossimo anno, quando vi saranno le elezioni presidenziali e parlamentari, ognuno sta presentando la propria candidatura, c'è una sorta di apertura al dialogo, alle trattative interne e quello che noi chiediamo, sempre come Caritas Venezuela, che i punti di riferimento di queste trattative non siano tanto politici quanto umanitari, ovvero vi è una necessità di risolvere il problema alimentare, il problema degli alloggi, della casa e rendere più facile l'accesso dei venezuelani che pensano di ritornare nel paese. Crediamo che fino a 2 milioni di venezuelani potrebbero tornare, ma questo naturalmente comporta problemi poi al loro ritorno, perché molte persone che sono emigrate hanno venduto tutto quello che avevano e sono poi emigrati verso il nord, verso gli Stati Uniti, e quindi tornano, ma tornano al niente, non hanno più niente. E quindi cerchiamo di identificare degli elementi basilari per accogliere nuovamente i nostri fratelli venezuelani di nuovo nel loro paese. Quindi questi sono grosso modo gli elementi che caratterizzano la situazione attuale del Venezuela. Grazie. Grazie, Eccellenza.
Thank you very much. Adesso, se volete, possiamo fare qualche domanda qui, ma penso che ognuno abbia già in mente le interviste da fare, quindi liberiamo i relatori e ci organizziamo anche con gli altri rappresentanti Caritas. Va bene? Perfetto. Grazie mille.
Adesso non ho capito cosa facciamo. Andiamo a raggiungere i nostri.
Sì, ancora mezz'ora. Se volete, sì. A meno che loro non abbiano delle domande particolari.
Ma vedo che sono andati via.
First thing, your complete name, please.
My complete name is Father Vyacheslav Grinevich. Sono sacerdote pallottino e direttore di Caritas Spes Ucraina.
What language do you want?
English.
English? Okay,
Sorry.
perfect. What problems are you finding now in Ukraine related to the war?
You know, at this moment, the most difficult is the question with electricity, because during the day, almost all day, we don't have electricity, and we have to be very flexible to manage our time and our needs, because, for example, if you have heating system, if you have to cook something, you have to be very careful to be in time, and it is really make a lot of difficulties for us. Also, another problem as for organization Caritas Spes that we have adapted territories that are deoccupied, or other territories that where we have internal displaced persons. We can program some programs. For example, now we support people in reconstruction of houses, buildings here, with cash support program, for example. We have also some centers with hot meals, but in the same time, for example, Kherson is deoccupied, and we have to be very flexible to go there, because there people simply have basic needs as water, because they use the water from river, from Dnipro. And it is, a huge differences, yes, because if in the first steps in that territories that were occupied, we already working with psychological trauma, yes, with spiritual support, but there they have basic needs. But for all of us, it is really very difficult with electricity, and we have to continue our support to people by families and centers, by generators, by hot meals, by another things that can be useful in the winter time.
Do you have any special project with support from another countries which is being helpful?
Yeah, we are very appreciated for Caritas Family, International Caritas Family, because we make small analysis. So, for example, if we have quick response prepared as in Kherson or another territories, we can contact and our partners support us. But also thank you for all those who support national Caritas in this support, in this solidarity with us. For us, it is really very important to know that we are not alone, and what is really very difficult that we don't have a good news, we don't have a hope that it will finish soon, yeah, and we see that it's escalation, the war is continuing, the needs are the same as was before, but we are full of hope that it will be end. We are full of hope that God will bless us for the peace, and we hope that also all of that millions prayers will be heard, and we will have real peace. And we hope this.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. As I promised, I try to be fast. I try. Because I know you are so busy, you have so many things to do.
Yeah.
First thing, complete name, please.
My name is Tatiana Stavnici, and I'm the president of Caritas Ukraine.
What is the difference between Caritas Ukraine and Caritas Spes?
So, as you might know, there's two Catholic churches in Ukraine. There's a Greek Catholic Church and a Roman Catholic Church. So, Caritas Ukraine is from the Caritas with the Greek Catholic Church, and Caritas Spes is with the Roman Catholic Church.
What are the biggest problems you are facing now related to war?
Winterization. So obviously there's still the ongoing very fierce fighting. The war is ongoing, and so there's still fresh displaced people coming to our centers. We're in some areas we're already working on some kind of stabilization with displaced people, so helping them to find more permanent shelter, moving into new kinds of assistance for them, more psychosocial support, centers, child-friendly spaces and centers for children, to help them process through their experiences. We're still helping with the basic needs of food, water, hygiene as well. And then winterization, so preparation for winter. We have a program that's working on light repair of houses. So the idea was to close up as many houses as possible. That means repairing windows and doors that were broken due to the fighting to help people move back into their homes so they can winter in a warm place. And then also providing, in some cases, we're hoping to provide hard fuels for heating where we can. But there's a big challenge right now with the strikes on the energy infrastructure. And there's rolling blackouts happening throughout the country.
Do you have specific restrictions for using electricity? What kind of restrictions are you planning?
Well, they're asking, so the government leaders are asking everybody to really be very economical with their use of electricity and any kind of power in daily life, and also for businesses to be very economical. And then they're doing rolling blackouts, so they will have a blackout in certain areas of the city during certain periods of time. And then you lose, no electricity. If you have heating with electricity, then you lose your heating. Also, very often then the Wi-Fi and the cell phone connections are very difficult at that time.
Do you have any specific project with help from the world which is being helpful?
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that we express our huge gratitude to the whole Caritas network and even people outside of the Caritas network that have contributed to our emergency appeals. That's really been the bedrock, the main response that we've been doing in Ukraine. We've been able to really scale our operations and reach millions of people. We've provided over 3 million services, probably around 2 million people over the course of these 9 months. So it's a huge work that's being done, and it wouldn't be possible without the support of the Confederation and other people of goodwill.
Thank you so much.
That's good.
I would like to this role of very close together. Because I think it's very beautiful that the two Caritas are here. So once we will finish.
Is he doing another interview? Oh yeah, he's doing it.
Very because for making the edition process more simple, we usually take also video of our interviews, but without sound, it's only talking about
Para que me quito la chaqueta.
Pues es que, sí, para que se vea la camisa.
Que no, para no hacerle
Se vea la
propaganda.
cruz pectoral, sí.
No hacerle
Se vea
propaganda.
más elegante. Porque entre un padre y un obispo, guarda. Solo le faccio una foto con la croce pectorale. Così.
Sì.
Grazie Marco. Dígame si le gusta. Que así va a salir en el artículo. ¿Está bien?
Caray, que yo no.
One other news agency would like to talk to you. Are you
I
available?
don't speak English.
No, they speak Spanish. Nos vemos antes de que se vaya. Bien. San Giuseppe. Bien. Gracias.
Colombia.
¿Ah, sí?
Sí, sí, durante la revista Estela.
Ah, ya.
Yo hacía parte de este equipo de delegación.
Ah, ya. Pero está todavía. Ah, bueno. Está preso.